I bought my granddaughter her first bike. My daughter-in-law saw it and said, "You're overstepping again. We already got her one we like." She took mine and left it on the curb. My son carried it to the trash without a word. I walked away that day. But when my granddaughter turned 10 and asked me why I missed every birthday after that, I handed her a letter that I'm 64 years old. I never thought I'd be writing something like this, but maybe someone out there needs to hear it. I raised my son on my own for most of his life. His dad wasn't around much. Not a terrible man, just one who couldn't stay put. So I did the best I could. I worked as a cashier at a grocery store in Sacramento for 23 years. I brought home leftovers when I could. Paid for school pictures even when it meant skipping my own meals. My son, Dave, he was a quiet boy. Always kind, always respectful. He loved puzzles. He used to sit for hours figuring them out while I folded laundry on the floor next to him. I thought I raised him right. But now I wonder if maybe I taught him to keep the peace too much. To avoid conflict even when it mattered. Because the man he became isn't someone I know anymore. He met Ashley in college. I didn't meet her until almost a year in. She was polite. Very put together. Always dressed in beige or white. Not a hair out of place. She said all the right things, but it was like talking to someone from a magazine ad. All gloss. No warmth. Still, I tried. When they got married, I offered to help pay for the dress. She said, "That's sweet, but my parents are taking care of everything." Her tone wasn't rude, but the message was clear: stay in your lane. At the wedding, I sat near the back. Not out of choice. I arrived early, but someone had already put place cards down. I wasn't part of the front row family anymore. That was for Ashley's side. But things didn't really fall apart until Clara was born. From the start, Ashley made it clear that she and Dave would be intentional parents. That meant schedules. That meant organic-only everything. That meant no TV, no sugar, no plastic, no loud toys, no overstimulation. I didn't argue. It was their kid. I kept my mouth shut, smiled, and brought over hand-knit blankets and books I'd saved from Dave's childhood. But almost everything I brought either disappeared or got gently rejected. Once, I brought over a teddy bear from Dave's old toy chest. It was soft and faded, but still in good shape. Ashley looked at it like it was a dead rat. "We're trying to avoid stuffed animals," she said. "They hold dust and allergens." She handed it back to me. I still have it in a bag in my closet. I tried not to take it personally. But the distance grew. It was like every visit had rules. Call first. No surprises. No sweets. No loud talking. No perfume. No advice unless asked. I followed the rules. For the most part. Then came the bike. Clara was 5. She'd just started drawing stick figures with pink crayon hair and hearts all over the page. She called me Gaga. We had a bond. Or so I thought. Her birthday was coming up. I asked what she might like. Ashley said, "We're keeping it small this year. No gifts from extended family, please. We're focusing on experiences." I nodded and smiled and said okay. But I went out and bought the bike anyway. It wasn't fancy. Just pink with tassels and a basket. A little sparkly bell on the handlebar. I even bought training wheels. I wrapped it with a ribbon and drove it to their house the weekend before her birthday. I wanted her to have it early, in case they had plans. I rang the bell. Clara ran out before anyone else, barefoot and laughing. Her eyes lit up when she saw the bike. She screamed and jumped up and down. "Gaga! A bike!" She hugged my leg so tight I thought I'd fall over. She climbed on it right away, still in her pajamas. I held the seat so she wouldn't tip over. She looked so happy I thought my heart might burst. Then Ashley stepped outside. Her face went still. "Oh," she said. "You bought her a bike." I smiled. I just thought she'd love it. I didn't know if she had one already. Ashley crossed her arms. "We got her a balance bike," she said. "No pedals. It's better developmentally." That's what we decided. I opened my mouth to explain I didn't mean to overstep. That I just wanted to see Clara happy. But before I could say anything, Ashley turned and walked to the bike. She grabbed it by the handlebars and rolled it down the driveway. Right to the curb. She left it there like trash. I stood frozen. Clara looked confused, then scared. Dave came outside. Saw the scene. Didn't ask questions. Just picked up the bike, walked to the trash bins, and leaned it against the side of the can. Didn't say a word. That's when I knew. There wasn't room for me in their family. So I left. I didn't even say goodbye. Clara cried as I got in my car. But I couldn't look back. I didn't want her last image of me to be tears. That was 5 years ago. After that, I stopped trying. No more gifts. No more visits. No more texts that went unanswered. I mourned her like a death. But I still kept a drawer with drawings and cards she'd made when she was younger. I still checked her school's website sometimes to see if she made honor roll. I followed her life like someone looking through a window they weren't allowed to knock on. Then last month, I got a phone call. It was Clara. Her voice was soft. She sounded nervous, like she was sneaking the call. "Grandma," she whispered. I didn't even know she still remembered me. "I just want to know," she hesitated. "Why don't you come to my birthdays anymore? Did I do something bad?" That question nearly broke me. I didn't want to lie. I also didn't want to tell her the full truth over the phone. So I told her I'd write her a letter. Something she could read on her own time. And I did. I wrote 10 pages. I told her everything. About the bike. About that day. About how much I missed her. About how it had nothing to do with her and everything to do with choices made above her head. 3 days later, my son showed up at my door. I hadn't seen him in 5 years. He looked older. Tired. He sat on the edge of my couch and didn't talk for a long time. Then he said, "She read it. She cried." I nodded. "I didn't know how bad it was," he said. I didn't answer. Because what was there to say? He chose to look the other way. "She asked me why I never stood up for you." I didn't have an answer. I still didn't speak. I wanted to, but the pain was too thick in my throat. He left not long after. Said he'd talk to Ashley. But I didn't hold my breath. Then something happened. Something I didn't expect. Clara started writing back. Her first letter came a week later. A page full of questions. About me. About my life. About why people stop talking even when they love each other. Then another letter. And another. What she started doing next, well, that's when everything began to unravel. And that's when I realized Clara wasn't just like me. She was braver. She was planning something. And once she started, there was no stopping her. Clara's letters came every few days. She was careful. She said she'd leave them in the outgoing mail before school, and told me not to reply through their address. She gave me a P.O. box she opened with her lunch money. I don't know how she figured that out at 10, but it scared me and made me proud all at once. In her letters, she asked about my favorite color, my job, my house, even the street I grew up on. She wanted to know everything she'd missed. She drew little pictures on the edges. Sometimes, she included old photos she had secretly taken from the family albums. She told me things I wish I hadn't read. "I'm not allowed to cry," one letter said. "Mom says crying is emotional manipulation. But sometimes I still do it under my blanket. In another one, when I talk too much, she makes me go outside and burn it off. Even if it's cold. I sat with those letters at night, reading them over and over until I knew them by heart. Then one day, she wrote something that made my heart stop. "Grandma, I think I want to live with you." I stared at those words for an hour. She said she couldn't take it anymore. That her mom corrected everything, how she dressed, how she spoke, how she even breathed. She said she didn't feel like a real person in her own house. Just a project. That letter hit me like a brick. And the worst part? I believed her. Every word of it. Still, I knew custody wasn't simple. And Ashley? She was smart. Manipulative. She'd never let go of control without a fight. I needed to be careful. I wrote Clara back through the P.O. box. I told her I loved her. That I would always be here. But that moving in wasn't something she could do on her own. I told her to hang tight and be strong. I thought that would be the end of it for a while. But I was wrong. A few weeks later, I got a visit from someone unexpected. Ashley. She showed up on my porch like a ghost from a nightmare. Still in her pressed beige coat. Still with that same expressionless smile. She didn't ask to come in. She stood with her arms crossed like she was waiting to be obeyed. "I know about the letters," she said. Just like that. No hello. I said nothing. Just leaned against the doorframe and looked her in the eye. She smiled, but it didn't reach her face. "You're confusing her," she said. "She's impressionable. You're creating chaos." Again. That word, again, hit me in the gut. As if I'd been the problem from the start. I asked her how Clara even knew where I lived. Ashley's face twitched. It was small, but I caught it. She didn't know. She thought I had reached out first. That's when I understood. Ashley wasn't in control anymore. Clara had gone around her. Quietly, smartly. And Ashley couldn't stand it. "I'll be contacting a lawyer," she said, still trying to sound calm. "This kind of manipulation, there are laws." I nodded. "Do what you need to do." Then I closed the door in her face. That night, I got a call from my son. "Why are you doing this?" he asked. "Doing what?" I said. "Stirring things up. Writing letters. Pushing Clara to act out." I told him I didn't push anything. That Clara came to me. That she was the one crying out for help. He got quiet. Then he said something I'll never forget. "You don't know what it's like living with her." It took me a second to realize he wasn't talking about Clara. He meant Ashley. I stayed silent. "Sometimes I just stay late at work," he said. "So I don't have to deal with the moods." My heart broke for him. But I couldn't fix him. Not anymore. "You need to decide," I said quietly. "You can keep pretending it's fine, or you can fight for your daughter." He didn't answer. He hung up. 2 weeks passed. No calls. No letters. Just silence. Then something new happened. I got a knock at my door one morning, 2 officers. A woman from Child Protective Services was with them. They said they received a report. That I was interfering with parental rights. That I'd been trying to lure a minor away from her home. I almost laughed, but I didn't. I cooperated. Showed them the letters. Explained everything. Told them I never told Clara to run away. That I only ever responded after she reached out first. They took notes and left. I sat at my kitchen table for a long time after that, shaking. Ashley was serious now. She was coming for blood. But she made one mistake. She pushed too hard. Because after that CPS visit, I sent a copy of every letter to a lawyer friend I knew from church. She didn't take cases anymore, but she knew someone who did. A woman named Marcia who specialized in custody and family rights. We had a meeting. She read every letter. She didn't cry, but her jaw tightened. Her pen scratched the notepad like a knife. "This girl's screaming for help," she said. "If we move fast and get a judge with a backbone, we might have a chance." I asked what that meant. She said, "Grandparents' rights in California are tricky. But if we can prove neglect, emotional abuse, or an unstable home, we can petition for visitation. Maybe even custody if the father doesn't object." I didn't have much money. But I told her to do whatever it took. Because I wasn't going to lose Clara again. That's when everything started to shift. Because Clara? She wasn't done fighting either. She was about to take a step that none of us saw coming. And the fallout would be something Ashley never saw coming, not in a million years. The twist came on a Sunday afternoon. I was folding laundry when the doorbell rang. It wasn't a neighbor or a delivery. It was Clara. Standing on my porch. Alone. Hair in a messy braid. Backpack slung over one shoulder. Red eyes like she'd been crying, but her mouth was set like stone. I opened the door, heart racing. "Clara?" I whispered. She nodded, stepped forward, and hugged me around the middle so hard I dropped the towel I was holding. She didn't say anything for a few seconds. Just clung to me. Then she looked up and said, "I ran away." It felt like the floor dropped out from under me. I brought her inside fast, locked the door, closed all the blinds. My hands were shaking as I set her bag down. I asked if anyone saw her leave. She shook her head. They were arguing. Loud. I just slipped out. I walked to the bus stop. I had the schedule in my binder. She had used 2 transfers. Got off 3 blocks from my place and walked the rest of the way. "I couldn't stay anymore," she said. She threw out all my drawings. She said I was too focused on childish things. Then she reached into her backpack and pulled out her school folder. Inside were more letters. Dozens of them. Copies of every one she had ever sent me, plus some I hadn't seen. One of them was marked "in case something happens." I flipped it open. Inside was a timeline. Dates. Incidents. A log of every time her mother had screamed at her, taken away her books, shamed her for crying, made her eat alone in her room. It wasn't just venting. It was evidence. Clara hadn't just run away. She had planned a case. I called Marcia, the lawyer. She picked up on the second ring. "She's here," I said. She ran. Marcia didn't panic. She told me not to call Ashley. Not yet. She said she'd file an emergency petition first thing in the morning. We'd go before a judge and request temporary guardianship. "You can't send her back," she said. "Not if she has documentation like that. A judge will listen." We stayed up late that night. I made mac and cheese, and Clara sat at the kitchen table like it was her first time breathing easy. She asked if she could draw again. I gave her every crayon and marker I could find. The next morning, we went to court. It wasn't dramatic like on TV. No shouting. No courtroom gasps. Just a small room, a judge with tired eyes, and a hearing clerk who looked like she'd seen it all. Marcia laid it all out. Clara's letters. Her logs. My statement. The CPS visit. Ashley's history of control. Even Dave's comment, recorded in a follow-up call, that living with Ashley isn't always peaceful. It was enough. The judge granted me emergency guardianship for 30 days. Enough time to investigate further. Ashley found out that afternoon. She showed up again, this time screaming. Pounding on my front door like a madwoman. Yelling, "She's my daughter. You had no right." I didn't answer. She called the cops. They came, saw the court order, and told her to leave. She threatened to go viral. Said she'd take it to Facebook. That she'd expose me as a kidnapper. I didn't care. I had the law on my side. More importantly, I had Clara. The days that followed were tense. Clara started therapy through the court system. The counselor's report came back fast. High anxiety. Deep-seated fear of maternal rejection. Emotional suppression encouraged in the home. Needs separation to recover. Another point for our side. Dave came to visit a week later. Alone. He stood in the living room, tears in his eyes. Clara hugged him, but it was stiff. Guarded. He looked at me and said, "I want to do the right thing, but I'm scared." I told him fear's what got us here in the first place. He nodded. Then, finally, he said it. "I'm willing to testify." That changed everything. Marcia filed for a permanent guardianship transfer with Dave's support and a motion to open a separate custody evaluation. Ashley was served the next morning. She fought back. Hard. Hired a private lawyer. Started posting on Facebook about parental alienation. Told everyone I was twisting Clara against her. Even dragged up old stories about me being a neglectful single mother. But it didn't work. Because the truth had legs. Clara wasn't just hurt, she was prepared. Every incident. Every pattern. Everything Ashley had tried to keep behind closed doors was written down in her daughter's shaky, determined handwriting. The judge reviewed everything. Then he called both sides in for a final hearing. The tension in the room was thick enough to choke on. Clara sat next to me, holding my hand. Dave sat behind us. Ashley came in last, makeup perfect, hair flawless, rage tucked behind her smile like a blade. What happened in that courtroom? That would be the end of the story. The part where real karma showed up. And what the judge did next. It would leave Ashley shattered, my son forever changed, and me, finally, standing where I belonged. The courtroom was silent when the judge entered. He was older, gray hair and slow steps, but his voice was clear. Strong. He looked at each of us before sitting down. No smile. Just business. Then he spoke. "I've read the documents. I've reviewed the logs. I've seen the therapist's evaluation. Today we're here to decide what's in the best interest of the child." Clara squeezed my hand tight. Her legs bounced under the table. Ashley's lawyer stood first. He was slick, polished, probably expensive. Talked a lot about parental rights. About structure. About how Ashley was trying to raise a respectful, emotionally stable child. "She's done nothing illegal," he said. "She is strict, but not abusive. Her daughter is simply rebelling under outside influence." He meant me. He said I was creating conflict and turning the child against her mother. Then Marcia stood up. She didn't shout. Didn't rush. Just laid everything out, plain and calm. She read quotes from Clara's letters. Played a short audio from one of Clara's therapy sessions, where Clara talked about being made to eat alone because she cried over her schoolwork. Showed the court the drawings Clara had made, one of her mother with a red X over her mouth, and another of me, holding her hand. She ended with this: "No child makes this kind of plan unless they're desperate." She didn't run to a stranger. She ran to the only adult she felt safe with. Then the judge looked at Dave. "Mr. Baxter," he said, "do you want to speak?" Dave stood. His voice shook. "My daughter's not lying," he said. "She's strong. I wasn't. I let Ashley do whatever she wanted because I was afraid of fighting. I failed Clara. But I believe she's better off with my mother, for now." He sat down. Ashley stood up without being asked. Her voice was sharp. "This is a joke," she snapped. "A 10-year-old child is not capable of making life decisions. She's being manipulated by a lonely old woman who couldn't handle not being in control. Then she turned and pointed at me. She gave her a bike, Your Honor. When we said no gifts. This all started because she couldn't follow one simple boundary. The judge held up his hand. That's enough, Mrs. Baxter. Ashley sat. Jaw clenched. Eyes on fire. The judge took a long pause before speaking again. I've seen families torn apart in many ways. But I rarely see a child come to court so prepared, so thoughtful, and so clearly desperate for a change. He looked straight at Clara. You are brave. More brave than most adults I see in this room. Clara blinked fast, trying not to cry. The judge continued. Effective immediately, temporary guardianship is transferred to the grandmother, Carol Evans. Mother will receive supervised visitation only, pending further evaluation. Father may visit freely. A formal custody hearing will follow in 90 days. Then he looked at Ashley. Mrs. Baxter, your parenting choices may not be criminal, but they are deeply harmful. Your daughter needs distance from your control. Ashley opened her mouth, but the judge raised a hand again. This isn't about what you want. It's about what she needs. And she needs peace. Bang. Gavel hit. It was over. Ashley stormed out. Her heels echoed down the hallway like gunshots. She didn't even glance at Clara. Dave stayed behind. Sat with us in the hallway for nearly an hour. He cried. Apologized. Said he wanted to be better. For Clara. For me. I believed him. But I told him it wouldn't be easy. That forgiveness takes time. That he'd have to earn it. He said, I will. Clara and I went home that night. She asked if she could sleep in the guest room, which had become hers. She hung her drawings on the walls. Put her books on the shelves. She smiled more in 1 week than I'd seen in years. In the months that followed, things settled slowly. Ashley tried to appeal, but the evidence was too strong. Her visitation was restricted to a family center. Clara barely spoke to her. The therapist recommended no further contact for at least 6 months. The custody hearing came and went. Dave signed over joint custody to me. He said he wasn't ready to take Clara full-time but wanted to be part of her life, on her terms. I respected that. And me? I learned a few hard truths through it all. I wasn't perfect either. I should have fought sooner. I should have stood up when I saw the signs. I let shame keep me quiet too long. That bike wasn't just a gift. It was me trying to buy my way into her world because I thought I had to earn space that was already mine. But no more. Now, every morning, I wake up to the sound of my granddaughter humming in the kitchen. Sometimes she rides that same pink bike down the sidewalk outside. I kept it all those years. Dented, scraped, but still hers. And sometimes, when I watch her ride, I see a little girl who was almost erased. But not anymore. Because she found her voice. And she used it to save herself. And the rest of us? We just finally listened.